Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar series. I'm Takahiro Nandi, Executive Director of Sasakawa Health Foundation. Today's topic is initiatives for preservation of leprosy history in Europe. As our foundation, we have three pillars of leprosy program: tackling the disease, fighting against stigma and discrimination, and preserving history. Compared to the first two, the people still don't pay attention so much about history preservation. So I hope that this webinar will be one of the opportunities for all of us to recognize the importance of history preservation. So let me briefly explain about today's program. At first, we have 4 remarks from our distinguished guest. Then we have 2 presentations about the projects that our foundation actively support, which are Frontiers in Spain and Robisco Pais in Portugal. We'll then move on to the question and answer session. For those who have questions, please click the question mark on your screen and send their questions, even during the presentations. If necessary, you can identify who you want to address the questions. So, okay, let's start. At first, I want to welcome Mr. Yohei Sasakawa, WHO Goodwill Ambassador for Leprosy Elimination and Chairman of the Nippon Foundation. He will address through video. So please show the video, please.
Happy New Year, everyone. I am Yohei Sasakawa, WHO Goodwill Ambassador for Leprosy Elimination and Chairman of the Nippon Foundation. First of all, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our chief guest, Mr. Jose Manuel Amoros, Chief Executive Officer, Frontiers Spain, and Dr. Margarita Cisenando, Clinical Director and President of the Board of Directors at the Center for Rehabilitation Medicine in Robisco Pais, Portugal. By looking at the history of leprosy from different perspectives, such as medical care, human rights, and social welfare, we can gain insight that help us find solutions to the issues facing us today. For example, the history of leprosy is the history of a disease that has been transformed by medical advances from an incurable disease to a disease curable with modern chemotherapy. It is also the history of mistakes that led patients to be excluded and discriminated against because of false perceptions about the disease. And above all, it is the history of the struggle of patients and their families in the face of the disease and the discrimination, and also of the effort of healthcare professionals against the disease. With this in mind, the Nippon Foundation and the Sasakawa Health Foundation have supported the effort to preserve the history of leprosy, so that the current and the future generations can learn from it. This webinar forms part of the annual Global Appeal campaign organized by the 2 foundations to coincide with World Leprosy Day. With it, we want to give people the chance to appreciate why preserving the history of leprosy is so important. I have been, for myself, have effort to preserve leprosy history are being pursued more actively in different parts of the world. Today, we are going to be introduced to what is happening in Spain and Portugal when I have visited once. And I very much look forward to hearing what our speakers have to say. In many countries, we have a responsibility to draw valuable lessons from the history of leprosy and the transgressions committed by humankind, and pass these lessons on to future generations. Let us use this conference as a starting point and work together with stakeholders from all over the world to preserve the history of leprosy. Thank you.
It was very much unfortunate that Mr. Sasakawa is not able to attend this webinar online. He left a message for all of you. It was very much unfortunate for him. But I hope you understand he is a very busy person. And here in Japan, it's now 7 p.m. So hopefully the next time he is able to attend this kind of webinar online. So next, I want to invite Professor Rosa Martinez Espizosa, the Vice Rector, University of Alicante. So floor is yours, Professor Rosa.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody in Europe, and good evening to those in Japan. First, I would like to thank the organizers, not only for giving me the chance to be here today on the behalf of the University of Alicante, but also for the organization of this meeting, which contributes to the knowledge and the preservation of leprosy history in Europe. For us, as university, it's a privilege to have Professor Antonio García Belmar in the faculty panel of the university. As you may know, he has been involved in the research of historical and social studies in science. And more recently, Professor Antonio and his team has coordinated several studies on the preservation of leprosy history in connection with Fontilles Foundation. Many different results and projects focused on leprosy conducted by Professor Antonio can be mentioned here, but probably one of the most innovative and of high impact is the project involving Miguel de Cervantes Virtual Library. The portal on leprosy in this virtual library is without any kind of doubt an excellent window for everybody all over around the world to learn about leprosy. I'm pretty sure that this portal will contribute to the development of new research and collaborations related to leprosy and other closely related diseases. Finally, I would like to point out that the innovative work carried out by Professor Antonio wouldn't have been possible without the funding and the support coming from Sasakawa Health Foundation. Consequently, here today, I would like to extend my gratitude to Sasakawa Health Foundation for this support. Just to finish, I hope you find new ideas and new needs to reinforce collaborations in the near future. Enjoy the meeting. I wish you all the best for the current and new projects on leprosy, and for sure, I would like to state that you have absolutely support from University of Alicante. Thank you very much and enjoy the meeting.
Thank you very much, Professor Rosa. It is our great pleasure that you attend our webinar. I know that you're another busy person, so thank you very much for coming. So next speaker is Mr. Jose Manuel Amoros, the Chief Executive Officer of Fontilles. So floor is yours, Jose.
Begin.
Okay. Okay, I'm not sure because some technical problems. Okay. Well, hi Taka, hi all of you. I just want to express my gratitude to you and Mr. Sasakawa, who had the honor to receive in our sanitarium years ago, and to you and to Sasakawa Health Foundation. And today is represented by you, by the executive director, Takahiro Nagi. And I would like want to thank to all that are working to preserve the history of the leprosy, and I want to recognize the effort done in this so important work. Even more in these times we are living, where the COVID-19 has shocked so negatively to humanity and very especially to the person affected by leprosy. Well, I think the work of all of them are involved in this initiative are giving results, and I think that we will reach the targets defined at the beginning. And thank to all of you, and appreciate so much to be invited to this conference. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Jose. Jose is my friend, in fact, and I was excited to meet him in Valencia in this March, but unfortunately, the meeting I was planning to attend was canceled because of COVID. But in the future, I hope I can meet you, Jose. So thank you very much. So the last speaker is Dr. Margarita Cizenando. She is the head of Robisco Pies in Portugal. She'll make a video presentation. So please show the video.
Hello, good morning. My name is Margarita Cisnando, and I'm the president of Centro Robisco Pies in Portugal, Tocha. Good morning, everybody, and all distinguished participants in this session. Warm greetings from Tocha. First of all, I would like to thank you for the honorable invitation to participate in this event. My particular thanks to Mr. Sasakawa, Mrs. Ayatobiki, and Mr. Seko. Without the support of the foundation, it would not have been possible to raise this project. It is a project of great importance for the history of medicine in the world and in our country, as it is a project of great importance for the preservation of the memory of the terrible times of this devastating disease in its time, leprosy, and so similar in its social and sanitary implications as the current pandemic the world is now experiencing with great apprehension. The pandemic has delayed a little bit the project initiatives, but we hope nonetheless to fulfill the previously defined goals and objectives. With this project, it's now possible to save documents, equipment, and testimonies that would otherwise be lost forever. We hope to open soon our museological nucleus to the public and start the traveling exhibitions. We are also in contact with the Science Museum of the University of Coimbra, which will take care of the huge assets of our institution in adequate conditions for preservation and consultation for future research projects. I must thank the magnificent and dedicated collaboration of Dra. Cristina Nogueira, who has devoted her energy and knowledge to this project, and also to Professor Vitor Matos, whose collaboration and knowledge of this matter has contributed a lot for the success of this task. On behalf of the professionals of Robisco Pies and on behalf of our National Health Service, my deep and sincere appreciation for all the support that has been granted to you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Sasakawa. Thank you very much to the Foundation. Greetings from Tosha and my best wishes for an excellent journey and work day. Thank you very much again.
So now we want to move on to the presentation session. The first presentation is Preservation of the Historical Heritage of Fontilius. We have two speakers today. Mr. Eduardo Di Miguel. He is the head of international projects, Fontilius, and Professor Antonio Garcia Belmar from University of Alicante. As you know, Fontilius is an only leprosy sanatorium in Spain operating till today. Fontilius and the University of Alicante are jointly conducting the project to preserve its heritage. So the floor is yours, Eduardo and Antonio.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Takahiro, for the introduction. And I would like to start our presentation by thanking the Sasakawa Health Foundation, and especially to Professor Takahiro Nandi, and also to Aya Tobiki for organizing this webinar and giving us the opportunity to present the Fontilius Heritage Project and offer you an overview of the work we have been made in the last years and will keep doing in the near future, thanks to the support of the Sasakawa Health Foundation and the collaboration, very important collaboration between the University of Alicante, the Fontilius Foundation, and other local public institutions we will mention later. I'm going to give the floor now to Eduardo de Miguel, who is responsible for international cooperation at the Fontilius Foundation, who will briefly present the history of Fontilius Colony Sanatorium, whose historical heritage has been object of the presentation project I will present after Eduardo's introduction. So next, please. Eduardo, are you there? Okay, I think we have a problem with the connection with Eduardo. I'm sorry. So I will make this short, brief presentation, introduction to the history of the sanatorium. And when talking about Fontilius, we are talking about an institution with more than 120 years of history. And during this time, more than 2,000 people affected by leprosy shared part of their life, in sometimes all their life, with the religious men and women responsible for their custody and care, physicians and health staff in charge of clinical care and research, labor staff working on the infrastructures and maintenance of the sanatorium, and hundreds of volunteers and collaborators who guaranteed the necessary economic and human support for the working of the institution. The activity of all these people over more than 1 century have left behind a rich natural, architectural, material, bibliographic, iconographic, and archive heritage of a huge historical value. Next, please. How to approach the recovery, preservation, and dissemination of this heritage is the question we have tried to answer since the beginning of our project. Next, please. We would like to share with you some of the reflections that have guided the design of our project, hoping they might be of some interest to you and feed the debate about the preservation of leprosy heritage we will have hopefully after our presentation. At the Congress on Leprosy Heritage Preservation organized by Sasakawa Health Foundation in Valencia a couple of years ago, Dr. Marcos Virmont, former president of the International Leprosy Association, remind us that in many countries of the world, within a short time, the only thing that will remain of leprosy will be its memory. Hence, the importance of preserving the memory of leprosy. There is, in our opinion, a risk of understanding the preservation of leprosy memory as a sort of safeguarding of an already constituted legacy. We know that memory is not a store where we keep reminiscences of the past, but rather a permanent storytelling exercise that we made from the present to project ourselves into the future. If memory is not something constituted that has to be preserved, but it is a narrative exercise, and if every preservation project involves a narration, often consciously or unconsciously implicit, but always present, it was necessary for us to give an answer to some crucial questions concerning this narrative. What account of leprosy are we going to build through our heritage preservation project? And what image of leprosy are we going to project through it? What voices will participate in the construction of this tale? Medical discourses on the disease, accounts of the government, legal and health initiatives, or the heroic tales of public and private organizations involved in the fight against leprosy has monopolized the narrative of leprosy history. Their voice is omnipresent and often exclusive. And it is omnipresent, among other reasons, because most of the historical heritage preserved is related with those activities and people groups. So how to include in our account the absent voice of those who experience the disease in the first person? Is their voice just another piece to add to the archive of leprosy memory? Or should their voice be part of the construction of the story? If so, how to do it? How does the story? This is a very important question, and we experience its importance during our project. How does the story and the image of the disease we will build through our preservation project affect the lives of the people who still and surely for many years will continue to face leprosy disease and its personal and social consequences? And finally, how to transform these answers to the answer to these questions into guidelines for our work? How to convert these ideas into tangible actions? So let's talk about actions. Next, please. The first objective in our project was to guarantee the safety of all the materials recovered, looking for an appropriate location for them. Producing digital copies was also part of the safety concern, but it was also a necessary condition to guarantee the maximum accessibility to the materials we intended to preserve and disseminate. It was a necessary condition, but not a sufficient one. It was also necessary to choose locations that would facilitate the access to physical and digital materials and design appropriate search tools that would easily search and consult. From the very beginning, we understood that it would be impossible for us to maintain over time and with our own resources the physical and digital structures created thanks to the support provided by the Sasakawa Health Foundation. It was compulsory to get the involvement of local public institutions specialized in heritage preservation and ready to collaborate with us and guarantee the sustainability of the structures created. I must say that in this sense, the support provided by the Sasakawa Health Foundation has served as a sort of catalyst with the power of activating the reaction of many local institutions, if I might use this chemical simile. All these concerns made sense, in our opinion, only if the result was useful. But useful for whom? We considered a broad target audience, but not in an abstract and nebulous way. It was necessary for us to think of concrete uses that could be made by, for instance, researchers interested in the historical sources made available for them, by students and teachers who wanted to integrate these materials into their teaching and learning tasks, people curious about the history of leprosy, and of course, people directly or indirectly affected by leprosy or by other diseases and situations marked by stigma and discrimination. And this concern with another fundamental idea, which is inclusivity. It was for us not only about incorporating into the heritage of Fontille's sanatorium the testimony and history of people who inhabited it. It was also about their voice being part of the design of the project and the construction of the narrative of the disease we were inevitably going to create through our project. Well, I think after this long introduction to the project, I hope we have already created enough expectation to start explaining what exactly we have done so far and we intend to do in the future. Next, please. The project has been developed in two phases. The first one focused on bibliographic and iconographic heritage and was carried out in collaboration with the Miguel de Cervantes Digital Library, as Professor Rosa has reminded. Miguel de Cervantes Digital Library is one of the most important portals in the international dissemination of Spanish and Latin American literature and culture. This collaboration made it possible to have the infrastructure and the technical and human resources necessary for the production and, very important, the maintenance and updating of the Fontille's and Leprosy in Spain portal that we finally produced. I'm going to send you, using the chat, the link to the portal just in case you want to consult it during, our presentation. So the portal hosts a library of historical, scientific, and literary works on leprosy in Spain, and the complete collections of the two journals, Fontille's Magazine and the Journal of Leprology, published by the sanatorium from the beginning of the 20th century up to now. The portal gets access to the PDF copies of these documents and offers tools allowing full-text research of all the digitalized publications. Next, please. The portal also includes an important iconographic section with 4 types of images. The first contains a selection of more than 600 pictures from the Fontille's photographic archive. There is also a section gathering the collection of building plans, and there are 2 other sections made of images that actually come from the collection of digitalized books and journals. They are maps showing the geographical distribution of leprosy in Spain, graphs representing epidemiological data, and diagrams, a very interesting collection of diagrams trying to graphically represent clinical and microbiological knowledge about the nature and the transmission mechanisms of the disease. Next, please. The data of the portal visits and consults has been really surprising and very rewarding. not only in terms of visitor number and items downloaded, which is enormous, but also in terms of quality of visits, consultation flows, and average session duration, which is in our portal is 10 minutes. I mean, just to give a comparative, average session duration in the Miguel de Cervantes Digital Library is 90 seconds, so 1.5 minutes. So 10 minutes, believe me, is an eternity for internet standards, and we are very happy with this result. Next, please. After finishing this first phase, the second part of the project has focused on the huge Fontilles Administrative and Medical Archive, a collection of several hundreds of boxes and thousands of documents that will be digitalized and cataloged. On this occasion, the work has been done in collaboration with the provincial government archive. The entire Fontilles archive will be transferred to the building of this public archive, where it will be kept in premises specially adapted for the preservation of this type of documents. The archive will also guarantee the condition of access to the documents and will provide the informatic system that will host the digital archive and the electronic catalog that we are producing at the University of Alicante. Next, please. Finally, we have been working long before the starting of these two projects, and we will keep probably working long after the finishing of the project on the creation of a leprosy oral history archive. We have collected and will keep collecting life stories of people affected by leprosy and also testimonies of health, religious, and labor personnel who worked and lived in the sanatorium. Again, this project has been designed in collaboration with an academic institution, in this case, the López Piñero Inter-University Institute for the History of Science, where we work for the creation of an archive for the oral history of science, medicine, and technology, where Leprosy Oral Archive should be part of. The Oral History Project was the starting point of our work, and it has been, for this time, the main strategy we have followed to integrate the voice of the people in the design of the actions, structures, and tools created during the last years to preserve the historical heritage of Fontilles. Next, please. So we know that our Portuguese colleagues are also working on similar projects on oral history, and we hope to find a way to collaborate in this area with them, both in training of researchers in leprosy oral history and, of course, in the treatment, conservation, and study of records created. So it will be a pleasure to listen to Cristina and Vitor this morning. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much for your cooperation to strictly follow the original time schedule, which is very much important in organizing this kind of webinar. And I really appreciate collaborations, trilateral collaborations among Fontilles, University of Alicante, and Foundation. I think this kind of collaboration could be model for supporting other countries from the Foundation's point of view. So thank you very much for your continuous cooperation with our Foundation. So now, the second presentation is Loviskopais Old Leprosy. We have two speakers, Dr. Cristina Nogueira, Chief Executive Officer of Cultural Age, and Professor Vitor Matos, the Professor in Biological Anthropology, University of Coimbra. Loviskopais was a sole national leprosy sanatorium in the history of Portugal. The preservation initiative aims to make known the history and memories of Hospital Colony Loviskopais, and both Cristina and Vitor play central roles to lead activities. So the floor is yours, Christina and Peter. Christina, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Bom dia a todos. Antes de apresentarmos a nossa comunicação, gostaríamos de agradecer à Sasakawa Foundation pelo convite em participar neste webinar, saudar o Sr. Sasakawa, o professor Takahiro Nari, a Sra. Ayatobiki, e cumprimentar os colegas de Espanha, os convidados da Universidade de Alicante e Fontilhas. Cumprimentar também a doutora Margarida Cisnando Cunha e os restantes membros do Conselho de Administração do Centro de Medicina de Reabilitação do Rovisco Pais. Eu e o Dr. Vítor Matos fomos incumbidos de vos apresentar o trabalho que está a ser desenvolvido no Hospital Rovisco Pais em Portugal, com vista à preservação da memória da antiga leprosaria.
Hello, good morning everyone. I will be participating in this seminar, also translating, a kind of free translation. So good morning or good evening to all participants. Greetings from Coimbra, Portugal. Before starting our presentation, we would like to thank the Sasakawa Health Foundation for the kind invitation to participate in this webinar. It's an honor. Special greetings to Mr. Sasakawa, Professor Takahiro Nari, Mr. Ayatobiki, and to all our friends from the Fontilles team, Eduardo and Antonio. Also greetings to Dr. Margarida Cisnando and all the Rovisco Pais administration and staff team. So Dr. Christina and me will be presenting the ongoing activities regarding the material and immaterial heritage preservation of the hospital colony Rovisco Pais. Next slide, please.
A nossa apresentação encontra-se estruturada da seguinte forma. Primeiro, faremos uma pequena introdução sobre a história do Hospital Colónia Rovisco Pais. De seguida, mostraremos algumas imagens do património existente, apresentando as diferentes intervenções do trabalho que temos desenvolvido desde 2016. Finalmente, falaremos como se tem processado o envolvimento da comunidade.
So firstly, we will briefly present some information about the history of Rovisco Pais Hospital Colony. Secondly, we will present some images of the existing heritage when the project started in 2016 and the different intervention areas to preserve it. Lastly, but not the least, we will explain our dissemination strategies and public engagement activities. Next, please.
Desde os anos 30 que o tema da lepra, a doença de Hansen, foi tema de estudo em diversas comissões governamentais em Portugal. O Hospital Colónia Rovisco Pais foi concebido para o tratamento e erradicação da lepra em Portugal, tendo sido inaugurado em 1947 como leprosaria nacional. Com esta missão funcionou há quase 50 anos, até que em 1996 foi convertido no Centro de Medicina de Reabilitação da região Centro e desde então continua a dar assistência aos ex-doentes que permaneceram na instituição, através do serviço de Hansen. Atualmente ali residem 4 desses ex-doentes.
So the solution for the leprosy situation in Portugal has been the subject of studies from governmental commissions since the 1930s. The National Portuguese Leprosarium, planned for the treatment, scientific research and eradication of Hansen's disease in the country, was inaugurated in 1947. After almost 50 years of activity, the Rovisco Pais Hospital was converted into a rehabilitation medicine center in 1996. And since then, this center has been responsible for taking care of former patients, namely those who preferred to stay in the hospital, mainly for social reasons, in the so-called Anson service. This service still has 4 residents today. Next, please.
O Hospital Colónia Rovisco Pais era uma espécie de aldeia de saúde. Ocupava 140 hectares, situava-se na Tocha Cantanhede, região centro de Portugal. Funcionava como dispensário central, incluía serviços externos e internos. Externos, as brigadas móveis, enfermagem domiciliária e serviço social. E serviços internos de internamento no hospital, asilo para idosos ou inválidos, núcleos familiares, casas de trabalhadores, capelas, creches, preventório para crianças sãs, filhas de doentes, e um bairro residencial para funcionários. Oferecia vigilância e tratamento médico e cirúrgico, apoio social aos pacientes e seus familiares, reabilitação educacional e profilática, ergoterapia e ludoterapia.
So the hospital Rovisco Pais complex was very similar to a small village at the time called Health Village, with more than 30 buildings distributed by 140 hectares located in Tocha, a small village belonging to the Cantanhede municipality in the central region of Portugal. The hospital colony served as the national central dispensary for leprosy, and among others, it included the services of outpatient consultation, mobile brigades, home nursing, social work, several internal hospital services, nursing homes for the elderly and disabled, residential centers for patients and families, and a chapel. Additionally, a nursery and a preventorium for healthy children and residences for employees were constructed in the colony surroundings, in the so-called healthy area. Surgical and medical care, social support for patients and their families, educational and prophylactic rehabilitation, ergotherapy and play therapy were also provided. Next, please.
No que diz respeito aos doentes, eles eram acompanhados, eram originários de várias regiões do país. Para termos uma ideia, em 1952 o Hospital Rovisco Pais já tinha identificado 1889 doentes. E entre 1947 e 1961 tinham sido realizados 2.290 internamentos e concedidas 1.131 altas.
Patients were from almost all regions of the country, and to have an idea, in 1952, almost 1,900 patients from all over the country were already screened. And from 1947 to 1961, more than 2,000 admissions and 1,000 hospital discharges took place. Next, please.
Quando em 2016 se iniciaram os trabalhos, encontramos diversos edifícios e neles diverso património. Next, please. Falando agora do património, os edifícios com o diferente património encontrado eram fotografias, postais, slides, livros e revistas especializadas na biblioteca científica, sobretudo de dermatologia e urologia, a revista portuguesa da doença de Anson, Rovisco Pais, publicada pelo hospital entre 1962 e 1980, documentos de arquivo dos diversos serviços, objetos e utensílios de uso diário.
So when our preservation efforts started in 2016, the existing heritage included several buildings, daily life objects, archives, documents, photographs, scientific books, mainly from dermatology and surgery, and also scientific journals, including the Portuguese Journal of Hansen's Disease, Rovisco Pais, which was edited between 1962 and the early 18th by the medical staff of Rovisco Pais. This journal was also exchanged with several national and international scientific journals, so our library was enriched with those publications. Next slide, please.
Também encontramos equipamento médico e cirúrgico e de laboratório, um arquivo, e neste local, no laboratório, um excelente arquivo de anatomia patológica, com lâminas histológicas, placas de parafina com amostras, peças anatómicas de autópsia, provenientes de autópsias e cirurgias e microrradiografias, etc.
Also included in this heritage are surgical and medical instruments, laboratory equipment for clinical analysis and histology, pathological anatomy samples and the corresponding file, samples embedded in paraffin, and anatomical preparations, as well as microphotographies. Next, please.
A preservação tem abrangente todo este património. Next, please. E começou pelo tratamento do arquivo fotográfico. Este processo envolveu atividades de conservação e restauro, digitalização, descrição arquivística e pesquisa para identificação das imagens, reacondicionamento em caixas de ácido free e a sua comunicação e disseminação através da plataforma Flickr. No total, o arquivo fotográfico do antigo Hospital Colónia Rovisco Pais conta neste momento com 3.200 fotografias, postais e slides.
So all the above mentioned heritage was included in our project. So the preservation work started in 2016 with archives of photos, postcards, and slides, comprising a total of 3,200 images. The treatment process of these materials consisted of conservation and restoration, scanning and processing, archival description and individual identification, repacking in acid-free boxes, communication, and also important, dissemination activities, mainly in the online platform named Flickr. Next, please.
Nesta plataforma Flickr, que tem o endereço no slide, estão neste momento 722 fotografias online e neste momento, e desde 2019, estas fotos já tiveram 78.396 visualizações.
So currently 722 photos are available on this online collection. Since its creation in 2018, the Rovisco Pais Flickr website has more than 78,000 views. You can find the website address in this slide, and I also shared in the chat, so I hope that the organization can share with all the public, please. Next, please.
Relativamente ao arquivo documental, Muitos documentos estavam armazenados em espaços inapropriados, foram recolhidos e reunidos, higienizados durante os anos de 2018 e 2019. Realizou-se um recenseamento da documentação existente e foram organizadas por série de documentais tipos de processo. Depois foram reacondicionadas em caixas e salas com melhores condições no conventinho próximo da biblioteca, como podemos ver nas imagens.
Most of the documents were stored in inappropriate places before this project started. So we collected and cleaned all documents in 2018 and 19. There was a preliminary inventory of the existing documentation and their organization by type of process. Finally, these were reconditioned in boxes and stored in their final location. Next, please.
Atualmente, a atividade do projeto foca-se na preparação do museu numa das alas da capela, onde se encontram cerca de 200 objetos já reunidos e que foram limpos e identificados. Estamos a produzir conteúdos para painéis da exposição neste museu.
So currently, the preparation of the museum is the main focus of this project. The material heritage that could integrate this museum is now stored in the chapel. The existing collection in the chapel comprises around 200 objects. They were cleaned, identified, and studied. And we are now producing contents to these exhibition panels. Next, please.
Procuramos envolver a comunidade. Next, please. Este trabalho foi possível devido ao valioso apoio da Sasakawa Foundation e ao entusiasmo das administrações do Centro de Medicina Rovisco Pais. Durante este percurso, várias empresas e instituições foram envolvidas, nomeadamente a Universidade de Coimbra. Por exemplo, presentemente está a ser realizado um projeto de mestrado na área de arquivística por uma investigadora da Faculdade de Letras da Universidade de Coimbra.
So we wanted to involve the community. All this work and efforts were only possible with the valuable support of the Sasakawa Health Foundation and the enthusiasm of the Rovisco Pais Rehabilitation Medicine Center administrators. During this journey, several campaigns, several companies and institutions such as the University of Coimbra were involved. For example, a master thesis in the field of archival research is underway by a young researchers from the University of Coimbra. Next, please.
Uma primeira exposição de equipamentos na capela foi também visitada por dezenas de pessoas e em 2019 a RTP, o canal nacional, efetuou uma reportagem na televisão onde mencionava o trabalho que estava a ser desenvolvido.
So the first preliminary exhibition in this chapel was visited by dozens of people, including second-generation children, who are now adults, former employees, delegates from an international congress, and health professionals. In 2019, the national television channel named RTP prepared a documentary about the children born in the Rovisco Pais or elsewhere who were separated from their deceased parents and grew up in the nursery and preventorium. The importance of the Sasakawa Health Foundation support was acknowledged in this documentary. Next, please.
O Centro de Medicina de Reabilitação da Região Centro, Rovisco Pais, tem recebido diversos pedidos de acesso aos arquivos e às fotografias, sobretudo de filhos de ex-doentes que cresceram no preventório. Estes contactos e os que temos feito com antigos doentes e ex-funcionários têm sido muito importantes, pois permitem a partilha de memórias. Alguns deles partilharam mesmo objetos e fotografias e documentos que se juntam a estas peças de puzzle.
This documentary raised public awareness, especially among those people belonging to the second generation of Rubisco Pais, mainly former preventorium interns. And since then, we received many consultation requests from people looking for their true history in the archives and photographs. Also, several former patients, staff, and others shared their memories with us. Some of them also shared photographs, documents, and objects, offering them to the museum's collection. Next, please.
Em meados de 2020 foi criado o site Ancient Stories. É um storytelling website que apresenta a história do Rubisco Pais, uma coleção de testemunhos de ex-doentes, dos seus filhos, funcionários e de visitantes do hospital. O mesmo divulga uma campanha de recolha de testemunhos, apelando assim à partilha de memórias. Está disponível em inglês e português e tem neste momento 3.500 visualizações.
As part of this project, in 2020, the Ancient Storytelling website was created. It presents the history of the Rubisco Pais, a collection of testimonies from former patients, employees, and visitors. It is available both in Portuguese and English and currently has more than 3,500 page views. Also, a testimonies campaign was also launched, asking for people to share their memories. Next, please.
Estas histórias são baseadas em testemunhos orais ou nos documentos de arquivo. Durante o ano de 2021 e 2022, prevê-se a disponibilização de novas versões deste website, que incluirão mais histórias, fotos, documentos, livros e imagens de objetos e, naturalmente, uma secção sobre as atividades e o património do futuro museu.
These stories are based on oral testimonies or archival documents from former patients, hospital staff, and community members. A new improved version of this website will be available in 2021 and 2022. These will include more stories, photos, documents, books, and objects, and also a section with all the dissemination and public engagement activities, as well as the heritage and museum nucleus information. Next, please.
Igualmente foi concebida uma exposição itinerante com o mesmo nome, composta por uma seleção de memórias contadas na primeira pessoa e inéditas. Foi desenhada para ser adaptável a diferentes tipos de espaço e facilmente transportável. Teve como objetivos promover o projeto e a reflexão em torno dos temas que neles estão retratados, divulgá-los junto de uma audiência mais ampla, encorajar novos testemunhos e, naturalmente, angariar mecenatos e fazer parcerias. Esta exposição tem sido adiada no contexto da atual pandemia Covid-19, mas conta já com agendamentos para a sua itinerância em Portugal em 3 cidades, Cantanhede, Figueira da Foz e Coimbra. Nos próximos 2 anos esperemos que prossiga a sua itinerância. Esta semana, no dia 20, iria abrir pela primeira vez na Biblioteca Municipal de Cantanhede, mas devido à atual situação de confinamento geral, teve que ser adiada esta abertura para fevereiro.
The Ancient Stories project fostered the creation of a traveling exhibition with the same name. This exhibition aims to promote the project, raise public awareness, reach a wider audience, encourage new testimonies, and capturing patronage and partnerships. After a postponement due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this traveling exhibition is already scheduled for display in 3 cities, Cantanhede, Figueira da Foz, and Coimbra. It will travel to other national and hopefully international locations in the next 2 years at least. It was scheduled to open this week in the Cantanhede Library, but unfortunately this library is now closed due to the confinement restrictions. So hopefully it will be inaugurated during the next month of February. Next, please.
Nós acreditamos que no atual contexto de pandemia, os temas que temos vindo a trabalhar neste projeto têm um papel muito importante nas reflexões presentes e futuras. Em quase todas as entrevistas que conduzimos para recolher testemunhos orais, o paralelismo e as similitudes foram apontados por antigos doentes e ex-funcionários. Este contexto incrementa o interesse e a motivação a visitar o site, a exposição itinerante e o futuro museu.
We hope that these efforts and activities help to stimulate present and future reflections. In fact, in almost of the interviews that were conducted to collect oral memories, the parallels between the COVID-19 pandemic context and some aspects regarding the moral, ethical, and political aspects of leprosy patient stigmatization, social exclusion, and confinement were pointed out by former patients and employees. This context increases the interest and motivations for visiting the website, the travel exhibition, and the future museum. Next slide, please.
A abertura do novo museu na Cabela está programado para o fim do trimestre de 2021. Todos os fragmentos deixados do passado ajudarão a contar a história deste universo, a última leprosaria portuguesa. As histórias de vida, diferentes experiências e perspectivas daqueles que ali estiveram, vivendo ou cuidando. Temos esperança que este seja o início de uma jornada que permita futuros desenvolvimentos, com o envolvimento maior ainda da comunidade, dos investigadores e atraindo instituições e apoios.
So the opening of this new museum in the chapel is scheduled for the end of the first quarter of 2021. All the evidence from the past will help to shed light on the history of the last Portuguese leprosy hospital and of those people who were part of it. We hope that this will be the beginning of a journey that will enable future developments with the involvement of the community, researchers, and stakeholders, and attracting the support of more institutions. Next, please.
Finalmente, estamos gratos pelo entusiasmo e colaboração de todos os que têm contribuído para este trabalho. Um agradecimento especial à Sasakawa Foundation pelo apoio e pela confiança. Pessoalmente tem sido uma honra para mim e para a equipa da Cultureiros fazer parte deste percurso. O meu agradecimento também ao Centro de Medicina e Reabilitação da Região Centro e ao Dr. Vítor Matos. Obrigada pela vossa atenção. Thank you.
We are grateful for the enthusiasm and collaboration of all those who have contributed to this work. A special word of gratefulness to the Sasakawa Health Foundation for its support and trust. Also, Dr. Christina is very thankful to and grateful to all the Rovisco Pais administration staff and our collaboration with the University of Coimbra. And also, of course, I'm also very grateful to all these people, and especially to Dr. Christina, who has been doing a great job in these preservation efforts. And just to finish, today is the birthday of a partner of us, Fatima Alves. She has been very involved in all these preservation memories and stories. So, happy birthday, Fatima. Parabéns, Fatima. And thank you all for your attention, and please keep safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina and Peter, for very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I had a chance to visit Rovisco Pais almost 6 years ago, and now I'm so impressed to hear that the chapel is now becoming a museum, because 6 years ago, there was nothing inside. So I really admire the work you have been doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now, I think time is running out, but still we want to move on to the Q&A session. So I want to invite all the speakers on the screen. So please turn on your camera and mic. So thank you very much for the presentations. I think our time is limited, so maybe we can only take a few questions. So we have the same questions from some people. What are the impact of COVID-19 to implement your activities? So can we start from Spain?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yeah, obviously, COVID has affected every aspect of our life, and of course also our work. But we have to say that in this second stage of the project, the main effort was concentrated on the digitalization and cataloging of the archive. And we managed to organize this work in a way in which actually COVID has not affected so much to the schedule we established from the beginning of the project. So in this sense, which is the main focus now, we managed to keep working without any troubles related with COVID. Obviously, the part of the project more affected has been the one related with interviews. There was the possibility of having interviews using video conferences, but that was really very far away from the philosophy we established from the beginning in this kind of personal relationships with people interviewed. So this is the part of the problem of the project more affected. I mean, we have difficulties obviously to visit all people and vulnerable people living in Fontilles, but also in other places. But I must say that the archive part of the project is running as we scheduled from the beginning.
Thank you. Eduardo, do you want to add anything?
In addition to the information from Antonio, I just wanted to mention that at the same time we are supporting this historical project. We are supporting cooperation projects at international level. We are supporting some leprosy patients in India and other countries. And of course, the COVID situation has affected a lot, mainly to these people who are suffering in a special way this kind of isolation and suffering. And now we are trying to reinforce the support to them through giving to them food support, drinkable water, and other medicine issues to reinforce these projects. No? And in relation with Fontilles Hospital, Jose Manuel is here. I think he could mention something in relation with the COVID. No? Jose Manuel.
Jose, do you want to say something?
About the situation of the hospital in relation with the COVID.
I think you're on mute.
Okay, I think it's not right now. Can you hear me now? Yeah, clear? As you know, the situation of the COVID has been a problem. The last weeks, the number of new cases has been increased constantly, and in our region, in Valencian region, right now we are around 800 new cases in the last 14 days. It's a very high rate. We have had many problems with the staff and nurses, any other workers has been infected, and we have to send to their houses. But okay, fortunately, we haven't had any death, any problem with our patients or with residents or person affected by leprosy. So personally, they have been tested, and some of them have the result of COVID test was positive, but any symptoms. And some doctor, as Jose Ramon, who has been working many years with leprosy patients, has been tested as well 3 times, and 3 times he has result positive of any symptom, and we are sure that he are not infected. But I don't know what is the relationship with leprosy and COVID. But some of them result of the tests have been resulted positive, but any symptoms. Maybe were infected during his lives, and I don't know what's the reason why we get positive results with any symptom. But okay, this is another question related with leprosy that we have no answer. But okay, as I was saying, the situation is good. No deaths, no important problems with residents, and we received the first dose 3 weeks ago, or maybe in 2 or 3 days we will receive the second dose to all of us, and I think in the next 10 days we will be protected. No, we have received the Pfizer vaccine, and my concern, as I expressed during the ILEP meetings, is that right now we don't know what are going to be the consequences for leprosy patients or non-detected cases in India, for example, or any other countries. Because if they have been to be live together during the lockdown, what are going to happen with all people who are living together during so many months? And okay, but we will see the consequences in maybe in 1 year, 2 or more, because as you know, all of us know that if one person is non-detected and lives with another persons can be infected. But okay, right now the main problem is to defeat the pandemic and to wait the consequences in the next years. And more or less, this is our situation in Valencia and in Pontillas, and I hope that during this year we improve the situations, and I hope that all of us can come back to recover our lives, and if it's possible to see you in Valencia one time, to repeat this or to hold these meetings face to face as human beings and normal humans, and okay, this is my okay, and I was saying thank you to all of you. You are doing a struggling big effort, and it's quite important to recover out and keep the history of leprosy, which is very hard, this is quite difficult to control. And okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose. We hope everything will be all right. Here in Japan, we are also facing severe situations in relation to COVID. Our government recently declared the emergency of state. So anyway, we are looking forward to meeting you in the near future from face to face. So can I invite our friends from Portugal to share your situation?
No nosso caso, e como falámos na apresentação, a situação tem afetado a abertura de exposições, das exposições e das atividades exteriores. Naturalmente que a intervenção in loco também não decorre com a mesma regularidade e acreditamos que mesmo a recolha de testemunhos noutro contexto teria tido maior adesão. Pessoalmente, a atual situação acaba por trazer uma reflexão bastante profunda sobre a questão da história da saúde e destes acontecimentos que naturalmente afetam a humanidade ciclicamente e, portanto, naturalmente que esta relação surgiu por estarmos a viver o momento que estamos a viver com o Covid-19.
Okay, I will try to freely translate what Dr. Christina said. So, of course, the COVID-19 affected our activities, all the activities, but as we showed in our presentation, it was mainly the main activity affected was the exhibition, the traveling exhibition that is now in standby. We are hoping that it will open in the end of February. Also, the local activities, those that are being performed in the museum and in the preservation of the archives, slow it down with this situation, as well as the recovery of the testimonies, because we believe that many people are afraid of being in contact with other people to make the interviews. So because most of these people, they are old, so they belong to the group risk. So we have not as many interviews as we planned for this period, but we hope to recover after these strange times. And also, Dr. Christina, to finish, talked about her personal experience, saying that this period was also a period of reflection, personal reflection about the history of health and the impact of the pandemics and the parallels that can be made with some of the confinement experiences that leprosy patients suffered in the past. So this is also a time for reflection, and we all can do it. Personally, I would like to add that the Rovisco Pais Center is a rehabilitation center. So Dr. Margarida, the administrator, is doing an extraordinary job to prevent that COVID-19 enters the institution, not only for the patients in the rehabilitation center, but also for the residents, the former leprosy patients that are unfortunately, they are only 4, but they are very old, so they are very fragile, and the Rovisco Pais is taking all the efforts to prevent that they become contaminated with COVID-19. So yes, the COVID-19 affected very much the activities and all of us.
Thank you very much, Christina Bitter. I hope you permit me to ask one more question. I know that the time is running out, but let me ask you one more question. We have a few questions about networking and transferring the expenses to other countries. So, for instance, do you have a network in Europe or do you have a network in other countries? Also, do you have any plans or ongoing activities to transfer your activities to, say, for example, Spanish-speaking countries or Portuguese-speaking countries? So, if you don't mind, can I invite, Portugal first?
Yeah.
Eu penso que o Dr. Vítor pode responder, porque assim não tem que fazer a tradução, está bem?
Okay. Yes, thank you, Professor Takahiri, for your question. In Portugal, we have two kinds of international collaboration, and we are trying to increase our partnerships. We have one with Brazil, so we in the University of Coimbra, we recently started a collaboration with the University of Espírito Santo, where a professor of history of medicine called Patricia Depps, we are writing a book together, and it is a general book about leprosy in Brazil called Hansen's disease, we are working together. So I will write a small chapter on the history of leprosy. And I believe that this will be the starting point for a future collaboration to work inclusively with the material from Revisco Pais. So my colleague from Brazil is very interested in sending PhD students and master students to Revisco Pais to work on the archives and to make parallels between what happened in Brazil and what happened in Portugal. This is also being done in the oral history part. So some of the second generation are now very organized in a group that is trying to gain more visibility here in Portugal, but is also in contact with the similar associations in Brazil, like Morhan, and trying to raising public awareness about their existence and their rights and their visibility. And secondly, we have our colleagues from Frontilhas that are our neighbors, and we have plans to make a research project together. And also, well, in our the last time we met, we tried also to make something regarding this, creating a kind of a network of European historical hospitals related to leprosy, so we can strengthen the preservation of memory, but at a European level. And as Antonio said in his presentation, it is very important that our efforts are similar in some ways. For example, recovering oral memory is important that this recovery is similar, at least in some aspects, in all countries. So we can join together and make a kind of European oral history of leprosy. So we hope that in the near future we can advance with this joint project. And sorry for taking too long in my answer.
No problem. That's great initiatives. So I want to invite my friends from Spain.
Yeah, we can share the the work, Eduardo, I can say just a few things about the academic side of our project, and maybe you, Eduardo, can say something about the networks developed from Fontille's foundation. So in our case, our work for the dissemination of leprosy history, other than the initiatives we have presented, we have been opening research lines in all our academic programs, including master program and PhD programs. So offering a research line and inviting young researchers to get involved in research using mostly the sources recovered and now available. So we have now a master dissertation preparing, and there are also 2 lines of research in the doctoral program. So, and both the doctoral and master program are followed by Latin American students. So this is a way also to expand our work to other countries. But I agree with Vitor that is crucial for us, and we needed this collaboration in the oral history project. I think we are working in very similar aspects. So we share the objectives, some methodologies, and it will be very interesting to keep working on a network to organize in a better way our work and to give visibility to the results of our work. So, Vitor, we have to find the time to transform into real actions all these ideas we have discussed every time we meet. So you have our commitment for that. So let's do it. So Eduardo, thank you for your question, Takahiro. It was a very important question.
You're mute, Eduardo.
Eduardo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Following with the idea, with the comments from Vitor, I say we hope that in future we have a better future to meet and keep on talking about the common project to European level. And in relation with Latin America, the question is very difficult to answer. There are different reasons to. Well, I don't want to be pessimistic, but the situation is very difficult in different countries. For example, in Central America, where we are working after a long time, after 1993, we are working in cooperation development projects. We have good contacts and potential partners to have the possibility of working in this history project. But the problems we are finding is that first, that we don't have enough resources to do this project. Probably in some of these countries, priorities are others. You have to think that in the last years we have been working in health projects. We have been helping to leprosy patients, and we have not had too much resources to work in this question of leprosy history. But the good information is that we have the contacts, we have the information, potential information, to do something in future. I don't want to reduce this only to Latin America, but also, for example, in other countries where Spanish language is spoken. For example, in Equatorial Guinea, we have good contacts, and we have done before some works in this question of the preservation of leprosy history. But probably these projects have to wait for better times.
So thank you very much. I think this is our first time to organize webinars about history preservation. So hopefully, we can continue to organize this kind of opportunities to discuss on the history preservation, because we believe that this is very much important issues. So I think time is up now, and we actually received a number of questions, and I'm very sorry that we are not take all of them. So we will definitely, go through each questions and get back to you separately. And of course, your questions will be shared with us in the panelists for today. So anyway, thank you very much for your patience. We are supposed to, finish this webinar 25 minutes before, but I did appreciate, you continue to stay at this webinar. So again, thank you very much for attending our webinar. And I hope you have all of you have a nice weekend. So thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very nice to meet you. Bye.
Bye.